and whatever I see is smiling at me. Love is who I am. So hello there everyone, and welcome to this video with me today. I wanted to take you to this beautiful forest outside in nature and talk to you about something that I consider is very important for our evolution as we advance in our ascension. I wanted to talk about how many times we rather invent new teachings and concepts, which are basically ideologies, instead of really moving into the experience, because not just the different dogmas that we have, but there's also a lot of spring-offs, like new things that are coming out that are like constant grasps on our consciousness so that it couldn't evolve to the next step and always continue to evolve further. So I was actually recommended through YouTube this video by a certain guru in India, this mystic, and I really usually don't watch videos like that, but somehow I was called, and it was a really beautiful experience because there was a lot of wisdom shared there. And he mentioned something that I wanted to talk about for a long time now, because I keep seeing that as reflected in what we experience and the things people talk a lot about, especially now in the New Age movement. It's becoming quite a handful. So this was just a spring off, but it's not just that idea, it's many ideas that we continue to birth in our reality. And a lot of times I have to say that the concepts we create are almost like we create concepts when we forget how to feel. As you know, every indigenous person, all the tribes or different civilizations that were very earth connected, they, instead of recognizing the divinity only somewhere up there and creating ideologies about it, they learn how to create very in a grounded sense. And like I said, this divinity, which is the expression of the sky and the earth, or the father and the mother in one essence. So when there is a missing link somehow, when we forget how to connect, we become rather disconnected, we start creating concepts and ideologies. And in those terms, we really forget to live a natural universal law. And the universal laws of life are not secrets. They're not belonging in the secret societies which operate through secrecy, so that the very basic things, which are the foundations of all life, become available to only a few select ones who put themselves on that position. So that mystic was saying how now everybody's talking about living in the now in a rather different concept or construct than that is truly meant. And for me, to be in the now means presence. It only means presence, to be really present with the experience of whatever it is, so that not just the experience, but the full responsibility of within your sovereignty can take place within your unfolding humanity as you're becoming more and more source creator being. So he said, well, now everybody's obsessed talking about live in the present, live in the present, live in the now, forget about the past and the future. When there was evolution that made it possible for our superconscious to become more and more embodied, so that as human beings we're able to hold more consciousness, which means being more conscious. And being more conscious means also having a wide span of what this consciousness will encompass, becoming more and more all-encompassing, which is the idea of universal consciousness. So he was saying, well, it's natural to just be in the moment because you already are. Reality only exists in the moment. So why do we keep striving to live there? And again, you see, concepts make us pursue that which we believe is a concept and how we need to live in that concept. What is the construct surrounding it? So we start trying hard to make it happen. Well, I can't think about what happened yesterday, or I can't think about what I should do tomorrow. So I should force myself to be in this now. That becomes, again, just a concept. When you're present, truly present, you're present with the all-encompassing nature, which continues to expand as your consciousness does, but your consciousness will expand in reciprocity to how much you'll be able to encompass with life force, which means the responsibility for what you've gained as knowledge or becoming crystallized wisdom, what you're bringing into your now, and then how will you put that into conscious intention for what you still continue to refine about yourself and the reality you're creating as conscious creator being. So he was saying, well, everybody's striving to live in the now. Well, you're already living in the now. It's universal. It's embedded within the human nature. So the things that we're now developing as special concepts and teachings, almost like creating this boundary or, something, putting concept always puts a false idea, well, a division between you and the source, which is embedded within you. It's embedded within all of us. So a concept creates an idea that we constantly then need to pursue, either mentally, in terms of our body, in any kind of way. Let's say I want to be more fit, and therefore it's not what I'm doing to be present, but it's how I'm doing. So if I say I want to go out and exercise because I want to look better, I want to be more toned in my body, I want to be more muscular, so I want to go exercise, but I don't really feel it. See, so I'm kind of, each time I'm depriving myself of that feeling. So instead, if I say, oh, I just want to go out for a walk, and I'm not caring how that will create the muscular toned body that I want, because it's not controlled and it's not born as a concept of what I think I should be doing. Again, it's taking us away from the now. So these ideologies is not just now becoming so popular to live in the now, but a lot of them take almost like from the equation out this responsibility of what it truly means to be alive, because we stop contemplating on life and kind of like we want to control our experiences so they get more and more unnatural. Because the true now, as in being present with all, which means bringing every aspect, your past, the future, it all takes place now. But it doesn't mean just forget what happened, continue to live like a blank slate in each moment. A lot of people would misinterpret that as, well, then I don't have to be responsible for what I did yesterday. Or, sometimes it's actions that are not integrated and they lead a soul towards this progression and embodiment. So people start negating that, they start negating the whole experience, and then eventually become disconnected. So that means we need a new concept, a dogma, or ideology so we can feel alive. But in truth, we forget what it truly means to be alive. So just today, because I didn't want to go skiing, it just didn't feel right. I said, I don't want to go skiing just because I think I need to be fit. I want to do it when I really feel like it, because that's the essence of joy, in the sense of the liberated human being. My essence coming through me as it wants to express itself through the creative life force, so which is my unique source expression. A concept that I might have about myself would come between the experience, and again, the experience would be not wrong or bad. It just wouldn't be the ultimate, because I left a construct or an idea come in between the essence self and the human experience that can become the ultimate expression of that essence when I truly allow myself to be that, to become that. And then that's the birth of presence, of true presence in our human reality. So for the past few days, I've been waking up so blank, and yet it's not a state of, oh, I'm just in the now, I don't know what happened yesterday, I don't care what happened. It's a state of real purity, of really being just so happy to be alive. Because that same mystic, I was listening to some other videos then because I really liked it. He was saying, well, people always say, well, what's the first 3 things you need to do to be really awake, in the morning? You have a routine. He said, well, it's not about what you do, it's how you do it. And I've been saying this for years. It's the essence that comes through, whatever it is. It has to be fueled through life force. He was saying, well, every day just check, oh, I'm still in the body, I'm still alive, check. It's just so simple. Certain things are so simple, but we forget this simplicity of life when we start living in these complex ways where we always need something outside of us to guide us, where the life force that fuels all of us through a creative source nature is embedded within us. And we then forget to console that wisdom in terms of whatever our true presence is. And don't forget, time, again, in terms of now is not truly time, is the timeless experience. Because when you take the linearity of the construct, which is limited, which means you will have only a partial limited experience, it's not bad. You can't judge it. It's just not going to lead you towards the ultimate until there's still these concepts there. So a true state of soul liberation leading to ascension is this natural currency that keeps happening through you, life happening through. And a lot of people don't even ask themselves, well, what is life for me? The basic essential questions which will lead you more and more into your truest presence, which is an automatic link to your now. You were always in the now, it's just now you're becoming conscious of that. It's a universal law, otherwise you can't exist, because the consciousness makes up your atoms every day so you can even exist. We don't comprehend these things in such a way because we take life for granted. We wake up, this is just physical, but life is not truly created from the physical level. So there's the consciousness that keeps this body alive, and we don't always understand the nature of why it is so, and these molecules staying together, through atomic structure of subatomic particles. Why is it exactly this way? But through presence, we are becoming aware of the life force that flows through that consciousness, which makes it animated, which makes matter animated. So let's take one example of yoga. Now, yoga is also one thing that became rather a concept or a construct. And we say, well, yoga is now becoming a lot of things that it truly isn't in its essence. The essence of the yoga will never change. What we make of it as a concept will change, and it will vary from how limited our perception or how wide open our perception of it will be. So let's take, for me, yoga in its ultimate expression is the union of spirit and matter. So how my spirit can truly come in this liberated sense through my physical body, so that the whole of me can become truly animated with life, that life is governed through this higher presence of my creator self, instead of just feeling myself to be this partial being, this limited extension of source. Well, I'm truly unlimited extension of source. That's source being, a unique source being. So we made yoga into an exercise, or we made it into this new trend, and now it's so popular. And there's many, as you know, yogas. It's not just the physical asanas. So that's why I enjoyed this. A friend sent me actually the comedy compilation of this mystic, and I loved it because it's truly funny. I was listening today on my walk. I actually had my headphones, and I was listening. I was laughing my heart out there. People standing there, and I'm laughing because it's just so funny. Because humor gets things closer to us. Why? Humor liberates us from these concepts, which for a lot of people can be rigid. It's hard for them to exit out of that, so we use humor to make it easier and softer. So there was this beautiful, super funny joke about 4 different yogis, right? We have karma yoga, bhakti yoga, mantra yoga, I don't know what's it called exactly, this Indian words or Sanskrit words, sorry, and the Kriya yoga, right? So each of them was separately experiencing their part of yoga and felt they were the right one, and they somehow, one of them despised the other and how they are, because, they each operate differently. You have to hear that joke. It's really funny. And each one thought, well, the other one's is a jerk, they don't get it. So they were all seeking the divine in their own way. But one day they walked together, and somehow they had to escape rain because there was a storm, and they found themselves in this old building, these ruins or something. And eventually this deity, this figure appears, and it was the essence of what they perceived to be God. And they were there together, and they didn't get it. And all of them had the same question in mind, which was, God, why now? Why is this appearance, this presence now? And he said, well, finally you 4 came together. So you see, it's this union of everything that we can truly experience in this path of divine union. And for me, this is the yoga of union, and that's what truly yoga is. So there's different branches of it because we as humans have layers of the experience. And I loved when the same mystic was explaining a very faculty of life through the different notions of how we experience humanity. So he was saying, well, to have a sense of well-being, let's start with the physical body, right? So if we're experiencing our physicality, he said, well, a sense of well-being in the body would be health. But when you start feeling it more, when it's more potentialized, when it's really pleasant, it becomes the essence of what's in the body, pleasure. Yeah. And then he said, well, the well-being in the mind is peace. And then when it's really, really even more pleasant, it becomes joy. So then when there's the experience of well-being in our emotions, we experience love. And when it gets even more pleasant, it's compassion. And then we go and move into the life force, which is the mastery of life force energy, which is what I always talk about, is that synthesis. He said, when there's a well-being in life force energies, we feel blissed out, we feel bliss. And then when it becomes even more pleasant and potentialized, it's ecstasy. And again, it's not one thing. That's why we always say, well, the pursuit of life is peace. Okay, that's it. We say, no, the pursuit of life is joy. And someone says, no, it's love. You see, and we will have different kind of like filtered options of what we think it's the ultimate life. Perhaps when we go through stages in life, there will be one thing and then the next thing, and we experience life that way. But eventually, as humans, all of these are gifts. And I talk about divine essences. So the essence level cannot be experienced without the feeling levels. And because people have been desensitized through these false belief system, ideologies, dogmas, of course, religion played a huge part. They forgot how to just feel, how to really, really feel. So we needed to, as beings, once again, start contemplating on the whole meaning of life, you know. And I always think about the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. What's the meaning of life? In the end of the book, the answer is 42, and everyone laughs, right? Again, it's humorous approach. So for us to master ourselves in our full presence means that will once, when we do that, open the gateway to higher multidimensionality. And if you can't master the essence of time in the now, in your presence, then how will you master yourselves multidimensionally? You can't. So to be in the now, which is to be fully present, all the experiences and the potentialities held, and your full responsibility, which means claiming your sovereignty, which means everything you've ever done and experienced, it's in your record memory, and it doesn't have to feel karmic. But it is felt as that unique life animation and expression that makes us who we are in this moment, but also beyond that. But for us to really claim what we truly are in this moment, we have to start bypassing, not bypassing, but transcending these concepts and ideologies and really start feeling life. So when I went for this walk, it was a completely blissed out experience, and I was having new emotions, and I'm having them since this eclipse, a little prior now. It's just like a total blank slate. But when I say blank slate, it doesn't mean it's a feelingless slate. It's a different. It's not a feelingless state. It's not the same thing. We always put things in the same box because it makes us feel safer and we already know everything. But the truth is we don't. We have to experience to feel. And we feel because we experience. So I've been having these new feelings and I can't put words to them. So one of the experiences was when I was just walking with the iPhone what are they called, yeah, right, the things that go in your ears. Sorry, sometimes I forget the sense of the non-important things. The headphones, right? That's what I meant. So I was really feeling into this and just listening to this man speak, and it was just so profound, and I was starting to cry, not like really cry, just like tears. And I felt, what is this feeling? I don't know. It's not sadness. It's not even joy. What is it? And the feeling was, don't try to analyze every feeling you have. It's just a feeling. Because eventually, really being present, we will stop being present with only what we say, 5 physical senses, and a few feelings we kind of put in the box, or our psychology, or whatever we perceive about ourselves and what is to be human. We will start to feel ourselves in what it truly means to be in the now. That doesn't mean I forgot everything I learned. All the actions I created, they're all part of me. They're all part of the play that I'm creating. And they're all vitally serve me. So let's say I want to build a house one day, and I say I'm totally in the now. I don't know what I learned, a few months ago. I took this course, but there's no reason for it because I'm totally in the now. It's not supposed to be this kind of new agey, whimsical feature. In its truth, it's the cultivation and bringing everything into your vortex, into the field, in your inwardly embedded nature of everything that animates you, and all the experiences, because that's the evolution, was to create. The life creates itself. So I love when that mystic said, well, God already did its part with creation. Now it's your turn. Now it's our turn, as extensions of that source. And a lot of people forget that. So they worship the God or divinity up there, forgetting to serve life here on the planet, serving the planet. That's why my focus is oriented so much as divinity embodied to serve the planet, to create a life of beauty, love, ecstasy, friendship, communion, compassion, just this beautiful, blessed experience we can create. So as you know, to have life first in the body is one thing, but then what will we create with it is something else. So concepts will not tell us, will not guide us, but the feeling and the essence level will. So everything you've ever learned is in your now. It doesn't mean you can stop, existing, or thinking, well, time is linear, it's not exist. Well, multidimensionality also, although it is a higher concept, and it can be mentally understood, but it's still not completely graspable to most humans who now reside on Earth. We're just starting to open up to it through our experience. But multidimensionality begins with the mastery of now, which is a timeless space. It's not a no time in sense of you don't exist. So because there's no sense of creation or experience, your consciousness has no more reason to hold your body and form. So you can stop to exist even. But it is rather an experience that is fueled with the knowing that you are more all-encompassing, and that all-encompassed state vibrates back to you, and that's your now, that's your vortex, that's your center, and it's supposed to be centered and grounded. So this is one idea. There's many other ones too. Like, for example, we always talk about light workers. The New Age talks about the light workers. I don't call people who serve the light that way, because again, the concept can feel very like it's related to work, and work is always, as you know, can come through this facet of when you do this work, then you serve the light, then it's always this doing. But it's our being that truly determines the essence that we emanate. So I always like to preferably say light beings. We are truly light beings. The work that you do might be an extension of that being, but the primary essence is the light being within you that animates this human body, and more they're getting closer together, which is the union of yoga. So all of the yogic practices are a part of that. So when you're singing and you're celebrating life, you might do that mantra yoga, I don't know the name. Then when you're truly devotedly, passionately pursuing something and serving, you're in the bhakti yoga, in the heart-centered yoga. Then you are doing karma yoga, you're doing actions, you're doing action steps, you're being a contributor to life. Then you're doing Kriya Yoga, which is just that mastery of life force through you. And again, it's not, you have to then eventually see they're not separate, they come together, which is what the beautiful joke is all about. And anyway, I was walking today and in this complete state of union with all, which sometimes you can't experience if you're doing things like, oh, I'm exercising to look fit. Because then I'm so focused on that, I forget to be more all-encompassing, and I love being in that feeling. So I will love to do this exercise. Usually when I wake up, sometimes a part of me says, I should do this. But then I really tune into whether it feels right for me in the moment. And a lot of times I like to do exactly the opposite. And to try out this non-linearity and say, okay, that perhaps was in my mind, but what if I do this, you know? And I see that which I thought at first might be encompassed in what I chose to do later. But in truth, it's the essence of how I wanted to feel, or what I wanted to bring through my day or in that moment. And that really roots me in the moment. So I was walking, and now it's beautiful because the wind started to blow a lot after the eclipse, and there's still a lot of snow on the trees. And there was this curtain of snowdrops, tiny particles moving through the sky, falling from one of the trees all at once, created this curtain of light. And I was like, my jaw dropped. It was such beauty. And people who are always so focused, and you might say, well, they're in the now, someone is skiing or doing whatever, and there's so much in the now. Yes, but the now can also be you're very present with your identity. So you're very much doing something, you identify with it, and even if you're walking, you can just look at your feet and say, I'm walking, I'm walking, I'm walking. Yes, a lot of masters say when you're walking, you become the walking itself. It's true. But when you truly do, it's animated. So it's not like a limited experience. So it's not just being present, but what you're present with. It is the whole of you, or is it a tiny identity part of you you're present with? So you see, you have to work your way around it to not just say, I'm totally present in the moment. Okay, how does that moment feel for you? Is it truly created on all levels? Is it filled with the essence of life? Or you're so focused on one thing, you forget to see other things, and being really more all-encompassing, which is the nature of unity consciousness. So if I wasn't in that state, I just didn't care about that curtain of light in the shower. That was just amazing. And again, those feelings washed over me, and I cannot put them into words because they're not something I felt maybe before. And that's what it's new. So you have to allow the feeling to come to you without needing a name for it, a structure to hold it, because the feeling itself, when it's essence-based, it's already holding itself. And a lot of times we forget about that the things that are authentic, that are essence-based, are already the grounding cord on their own. They don't need for us to take charge in a sense of control. They're just coming through us because we're learning how to become those true conduits. And the yoga means union, spirit and matter, and its ultimate state, you know, in its profound nature. So the branches of yoga might be different ways of experiencing this, but they have to eventually come together. You know, they're synthesized and unified. So that was my main message for today. There's a whole lot to say on this topic, but I hope you will watch some of these beautiful comedic, blah blah, what are they called? I don't know. They're just comedy compilations online. What's it called? Sadhguru, I think so. It's just really, really funny for me. It was a really beautiful experience, and just whatever you think that's it for you, try to expand yourself in each moment. So say, I'm present. Well, okay, how can you, one thing is to be present with what the level of your presence is now, and you can also ask yourself, how can I expand the level of my presence? Because each time, remember, you can hold more consciousness in your physical form, so you're going to have to expand further out and then come back into this pulsating now. So for us to live multidimensionally, we have to expand and master that first, that understanding of presence. For multidimensionality is not the absence of considering the past, present, and future, because it's not about time. It is about a timeless state where all dimensions and realities and perceptions can be perceived in this moment, in this existence that we hold in our presence. So it is actually the absorption of all into one rather than negation of that, which is the true concept of living in the now, multidimensionally, and really birthing into life this multidimensional presence within us. And so it is. I hope you're enjoying yourself. Lots of bliss, joy wherever you are. And as always, with so much love, wisdom, and power, take care. Bye-bye.